Hello everyone, how are you all? I hope you are fit and fine. Today I see Rajat welcome you once again to the YouTube channel of EduTap. I bring to you another important MCQ lecture for Company Law SEBI Graded 2020 examination. This lecture is for chapter number 11th, Appointment and Qualification of Directors. Again, this is a very big chapter, so I have broken this chapter into two parts. So today we are going to study about the first part, approximately from section 149 to 160. So let us now do not waste time and start with the video. Important information: due to coronavirus outbreak, we faculty are working from home, so you might find some audio quality issues. So please bear it with us. We are constantly trying to provide you with the best quality content. Stay home, stay safe, and stay online. Some of our previous results. So as you all know, EduTap has been continuously giving great results in the field of NABARD, RBI and SEBI. So in NABARD grade A examination 2019, out of 41 seats, 25 selections were from EduTap. NABARD grade B examination, out of 8 seats, 4 selections were from EduTap. RBI grade B 2019, more than 215 students were called for interviews. In 2018 also, we produced astonishingly best results. NABARD graded 2018, out of 46 seats, we gave 26 selections. SEBI graded 2018 examinations, out of 84 seats, 41 selections were from EduTap. That is approximately 50% of the students that got selected were from EduTap. And in RBI grade B examination 2018, out of 127 seats, 72 selections were from EduTap. Moving on. Question number 1. XYZ is a public company. The minimum number of directors it should have is dash 1, 2, 3 or 4. Easy question, the easiest question that can be asked from this chapter. You know the answer. This is a basic question, and this is you should know the answer because this question is a part of the basics also that I have explained in the very first chapters in my course. All the minimum number of directors is required in all the type of companies. So in the case of one-person company, you need only one director minimum. In case of private companies, minimum director required is 2, and in case of public company, minimum director required is 3. So that is the basic difference between private and public company, the minimum number of directors that are required. So since XYZ is a public company, the minimum number of directors it should have is answer C, that is 3 directors. Moving on. Number 2. The minimum number of independent directors in case of a public listed company are dash. So I am asking about independent directors and in case of public listed company. Be aware. Okay. I am not asking in case of other companies. This is about public listed company. And I am asking about independent directors. There are a lot of terminologies in this chapter. That is resident director, woman director, independent director, executive director, non-executive director. You should clearly know the meaning of each and every term. So the minimum number of independent directors in case of a public listed company are 1/4 of total directors, 1/3 of total directors, 1/2 of total directors, or 2/3 of total directors. I am asking about independent directors, and I have been requesting you that please type the answer in the comment box, but I have not seen much answers. So you guys are seeing my video, I appreciate that, but I want the answers to the question also so that I can judge how well your preparation is going on. Moving to the answer. As you all know, minimum number of independent directors in case of listed company. You require 1/3 of the total number of directors to be independent directors in case of listed company. Now this is the case of listed company. But independent directors are required in case of other companies also, which are public companies but unlisted. So in the case of public companies, you need at least 2 independent directors, but not all public companies. Public companies which are complying with any of the 3 conditions, any of the 3, because or is there. So the first condition is paid up share capital of more than 10 crore rupees, or turnover of more than 100 crore rupees, or outstanding loans or debentures or deposits of more than 50 crore rupees. So if there is a public company, that is a public unlisted company, and as per the last date of latest audited financial statements, so the paid up share capital was more than 10 crore, or turnover of the company was more than 100 crores, or the outstanding loans, debentures and deposits of the company were more than 50 crores, then they should have at least 2 independent directors. The question was about listed company. B 1/3 of total directors. So in the case of listed companies, the minimum number of independent directors required is 1/3 of total directors. And you know who is the independent director. Independent director is a person who is not a promoter of the company, he's an outsider to the company, but he is appointed, he's a skillful person and he is appointed in the company so that the objectives of integrity is observed in the company. Okay, moving on. Who among the following shall be eligible to be an independent director of a company XYZ Limited with paid up share capital of rupees 100 crores? Now, tricky question for you. So, Mr. A, who is a promoter of the subsidiary company, Mr. B, whose relative is holding security of the shares of the company worth rupees 25 lakhs, Mr. C, whose relative has held the position of key managerial personnel of its associate company in the last year, or Mr. D, who is a partner in the cost auditor firm of the company. So, who among the four shall be eligible to be an independent director of XYZ Limited? You have to see each and every term. I have mentioned this paid up share capital of 100 crores deliberately, so you have to see to it. I want the particular answer in the comment box with the reason before I explain it to you. I am waiting for the next 5 seconds. Please type the answer in the comment box. So, the detailed provisions regarding independent directors qualification. So, first of all, independent director is the one who must be different from managing director or a whole-time director or a nominee director. So, he is an outsider. He is not the managing director or the whole-time or the nominee director. He must possess integrity and relevant experience and expertise. As you all know, you cannot appoint a normal person who is not having any expertise or experience in the relative fields of working or governing the administration of a company, and that person also shall be having or should be a person of integrity. He must not be the current or the past promoter of the company or its holding subsidiary or associate company. So he must not be related to the company in any way. He must not be related to promoters or directors of the company, its holding subsidiary or associate company. So he is not a promoter of the company, he was not a promoter of the company, and he is not related to the promoters of the company also, or the directors of the company or its holding or subsidiary or associate company. That simply means that he should be a person who is an outsider to the company, so that the basic principle, that is independence, is adhered. Now, as you know, some other qualification, that none of his relatives shall be holding any security of more than 50 lakh or 2% of paid up capital, whichever is higher, during the 2 immediately preceding financial years or during the current financial year. So none of his relatives shall hold any security. It can be debenture, it can be shares of more than 50 lakh or 2% of the paid up capital. So in the example I've given you, I've mentioned paid up capital as 100 crores. So 2% of paid up capital is 2 crores. So the relative of the person shall not hold any security more than 50 lakh or 2%, that is 2 crores, whichever is higher. So if the person is holding security more than that, then that person is ineligible. Second is, the relative shall not be indebted to the company for more than 50 lakh rupees during the immediately 2 preceding financial years or during the current financial year. Then that person should not have given guarantee to any third person who is indebted for more than rupees 50 lakh, and also there should not be a transaction with the companies including holding of security, loans or guarantee which is more than 2% of the gross income or gross turnover during the immediately preceding 2 financial year. So these are some of the qualification, or you can say disqualification, that if these limits are crossed, then that person is ineligible. And these limits are to be seen for the company also and its holding subsidiary and associate companies also. So you have to keep it in mind. I have not mentioned that these are to be seen for the holding subsidiary companies, but you have to keep in mind that these limits are to be checked for the holding and subsidiary companies also. Some more qualifications of independent director. So independent director or his relative. So in the previous slide I have told you that was only for the relatives, and here I am telling you about either independent director or his relative. They should not have held any key position or should not have been employee of company or its holding or subsidiary or associate company in any of the 3 financial years preceding the financial year in which he is proposed to be appointed. So that person shall not be a key managerial person or an employee of the company or of the holding company, the subsidiary company, the associate company in any of the 3 preceding financial years. Then should not have been employee or partner or owner of any auditing firm or legal consulting firm of the company or its holding or subsidiary or associate company. That is the same thing, because the basic principle is of independence, and that has to be seen. So if that person is a partner in the audit firm or the legal consulting firm, even of the company or its associate holding companies or subsidiary companies, then also the basic principle of independence is not complied. So we have to check it for the holding, subsidiary and associate companies also. Then that person should not hold 2% or more voting power either independently or together with his relative in the company. Now this is to be checked in the company only and not in the case of associate holding or subsidiary company. Do keep it in mind, we have to check this condition of 2% holding of voting power only for the company and not for its associate subsidiary companies. And last, that person shall not be a CEO or director of any non-profit organization which receives 25% or more of its receipt from the company or from any of the promoters of the company, from directors of holding subsidiary or associate company, or anyone who holds 2% or more of the total voting power of the company. So this person, this independent director or his relative, should not be the CEO or director of any non-profit organization which, that is a non-profit organization which is receiving 25% of its receipts from the company or from the promoters or directors of the company or from the promoters director of the holding subsidiary or associate companies or from any person who is holding more than 2% of voting power in the company. So I have tried to summarize all the important points regarding independent directors, all the qualifications, but one or two might be there which are left in this particular slide. So you can study them from the act, or if you purchase the course you can study it from there also. There I have mentioned all the points. So these are some of the points that you have to keep in mind. These are very important. Please do revise them again and again. From independent directors there can be a lot of questions that can be formed. So this particular topic shall be at your tips. So moving on. So I asked you, who among the following shall be eligible to be an independent director of a company XYZ with paid up share capital of 100 crores. So Mr. A, who is the promoter of subsidiary company, you all know that person is ineligible, so A is wrong. Coming to D, Mr. D, who is a partner in the cost auditor firm of the company. I have told you that the person cannot be a partner in the audit firm or the CS firm or the legal consulting firm or the cost audit firm. So he cannot be a partner in any of the legal consulting or audit firm. So when I am talking about audit firm, that means the CA firm, CS firm and cost auditor firm. All the 3 are included in that. Coming to C point, Mr. C, whose relative has held the position of key managerial person of its associate company in the last year. So that person is also not eligible, since that person, Mr. C's relative has held the position of key managerial person in the associate company last year only. So for the last 3 years, if that person was appointed, then that attracts the disqualification. And Mr. B, whose relative is holding security of the share of the company worth rupees 25 lakhs. So Mr. B is eligible. Why he is eligible? Since the share that the person is holding or the relative of the person is holding is worth for rupees 25 lakh only. So we were told that that person can hold shares of above 50 lakh or 2% of the total paid up capital, whichever is higher. So 25 lakhs is within the limit. So this person B is eligible. So the answer here shall be B. Moving on. No independent director shall hold office for more than 2 consecutive terms, but such independent director shall be eligible for reappointment after the expiration of dash years of ceasing to become an independent director. Basically here we are telling about the cooling off period. So as we know that the directors, the independent directors basically can be reappointed for 2 terms, consecutive 2 terms. So but after the expiry of the second term, that person has to serve a cooling off period for dash years, after which he is again eligible for reappointment. So what is the cooling off period here? Is it 2 years, 3 years, 4 years or 5 years? So the today's topic, I guess we are having very good quality questions, and these questions are factual questions, but we have twisted the language a little bit so that it is looking very tricky and confusing. So if you are able to solve it, if you are able to remember the answer here, then you can assure that you can get good marks in your SEBI examination. So the answer here shall be 2, 3, 4 or 5. You all know independent director shall hold office for a term up to 5 consecutive years on the board of a company. So initially they can be appointed for a maximum 5 years. Then after that, you all know that that person can be reappointed, because after the expiry of first term, that person can be reappointed, but by passing a special resolution by the company and disclosure of such appointment in the board's report. Now, if the person is reappointed, then again for next 5 years maximum he can serve the position of independent director. An independent director shall hold office for a maximum of 2 consecutive terms. Since when he is an independent director in the company and for continuous 10 years he is an independent director, then there is a thought that that particular independent director also can be biased, because for so much time, for approximately 10 years, he is related to the company, he is a part of the company. So the company might influence his thought process, the company might corrupt that person. So the law says that not for more than 2 terms that person shall be reappointed, and after the expiry of the second term, the person has to serve a cooling off period of 3 years, within which that person cannot be associated with the company in any capacity. So you cannot do that. You are removing him from the position of independent director and you are giving a job to him. No. In any of the capacity, that person cannot be related to the company. Neither he can be the employee of the company, neither he can be a key managerial personnel of the company, neither he can be a part of the auditing team, audit firm, legal consulting firm. He cannot be in any capacity be a part of the company or its holding subsidiary or associate companies. So now you can give the answer, very easy answer I have already told you. So for the 3 years, he has to serve a cooling off period. Now moving on to Section 151 tells us about the appointment of a small shareholder director. In that context, a small shareholder is a shareholder holding shares of nominal value of maximum dash rupees. So as you all know, Section 151 is telling us about the appointment of a small shareholder director. So small shareholder director is nobody but just a representative of the small shareholders, the minority shareholders. So these person, what do you mean by small shareholder? Small shareholder is a person who is holding small amount of shares. So what can be the maximum amount of nominal value of the shares that small shareholder is holding, so that he can come into the definition of small shareholder? So is it 5,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees, 20,000 rupees or 50,000 rupees? So again I am going to explain the concept to you. So a listed company may, upon notice of not less than 1,000 small shareholders or 1/10 of the total number of shareholders, whichever is lower, have a small shareholders director elected by the small shareholders. So firstly, who can appoint? A listed company can appoint. What is the requisite that a person shall be appointed as the small shareholder director? So at least 1/10 of the total number of shareholders or 1,000 small shareholders. 1,000 small shareholders or 1/10 of total number of shareholders, whichever is lower, they shall appoint or elect any person as the small shareholders director who can represent all of them on their behalf. Tenure as small shareholder director shall not exceed a period of 3 consecutive years. So the maximum tenure of small shareholder director shall be 3 years, and after that he is not eligible for reappointment. In place of that, another person shall be appointed as small shareholder director. Small shareholders means a shareholder holding share of nominal, that is the face value, of not more than 20,000 rupees. So the maximum value that a small shareholder can hold is 20,000 rupees. Yes, you know the answer now. The answer here is answer C, that is 20,000 rupees. Moving on. If a person obtains more than one DIN, DIN is Director's Identification Number, then that person shall be liable to a penalty which may extend to dash rupees. So maximum penalty in case a person is holding more than one DIN, that is dash, and in case of the continuing default, that even after the penalty is imposed, even then the person is not surrendering the DIN, or he's continuing with two DINs, then that person shall be further liable for a penalty of rupees dash for each day of default after the first day. So what is the penalty? Maximum penalty should be 5,000 and per day penalty 500, or maximum penalty of 1 lakh and 1,000 per day penalty, maximum penalty of 50,000 and 1,000 per day penalty, or 1 lakh maximum penalty or 500 per day penalty. Penalties are very important. I have told you again and again. Please summarize them as your convenience. Please make a chart out of them so that you can remember it easily. There are a lot of penalties in each and every chapter, so they should be at your fingertips. I have summarized the provisions regarding DIN for you. So as you all know, DIN, that is the Director Identification Number, is nothing but a unique number allotted by the central government to each director, which acts as a source of unique identification for that particular director. So as we all have our PAN card number and our Aadhaar card number, which are unique identity to an individual, similarly a director has a DIN number which is a unique identity to that director. Then a person appointed as a director shall not act as a director unless he gives his consent to hold the office as director using the form DIR2. So a director has to submit to the company a form DIR2 in which he shall be giving his consent to act as a director. If the director or the individual applies for more than one DIN, or he has obtained more than one DIN, or once the DIN has been allotted, he fails to inform the company within 1 month of receipt of the DIN, then he has violated certain conditions, and the penalty that shall be liable to him will be maximum 50,000 rupees, and in case of continuing default, for the penalty of rupees 500 per day. So if he has not complied with the provisions, if he has obtained more than one DIN, so in that case maximum penalty of 50,000 plus, even after penalty is imposed, he is in default, then in the case of that continuing default, 50,000 plus 500 rupees per day shall be penalty on that particular individual. If a person obtains more than one DIN, then that person shall be liable to a penalty which may extend to 50,000 rupees per day, and in case of continuing default, with further penalty of rupees 500 for each day after the first day during which such default continues. So the answer here is A. Question number 7. In absence of any provisions in the articles of the company, who shall be deemed to be the first directors of the company? A. Subscribers to memorandum. B. The promoters of the company. C. The manager of the company. Or D. The directors of the holding company. Very easy question, very important question. Among the starting sections. So I have not made any explanation for that, since I hope that you know the answer for this question. This is a very easy question, very basic question. So the answer is A. Subscribers to memorandum. So if nothing is mentioned in the articles of the company, then subscribers to the memorandum, the person who have signed the memorandum, they shall be deemed to be the first directors of the company. Moving on. Question number 8, last question for today. The director shall give his consent to act as a director, which shall be filed with the ROC within dash days of his appointment. So within how many days of the appointment of director, the director shall submit his consent to the registrar of companies? Within 10 days, 15 days, 30 days or 45 days. Just now we have studied it when we were studying DIN. I know you know the answer. So you can easily see from here that a person appointed as a director shall not act as a director unless he gives his consent to hold the office in form number DIR2. So he shall be submitting the form DIR2 to the company, and then the company shall be intimating the ROC about his consent in form number DIR12 within 30 days of his appointment. So the answer here is 30 days. So the director shall give his consent to act as a director, which shall be filed with the ROC. So the director will be giving his consent in form DIR2 to the company. Then the company shall be filing it with ROC within 30 days of the appointment of director. So the answer here shall be C. So this was all for today's video. I want you to write how many questions were you able to score correctly without my explanation, without my help. And also please do comment if you want any particular video on any topic that you were not able to understand in company law. So I'll be waiting for your comments. If you like the video, please comment and like the video and subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed yet, and prepare well for the examination. I wish you please stay at home, stay safe, stay online, and all the best for the examination.